Pixel art has its own challenges and rules, and I like sticking to the grid. I don't like pixel art that like squashes and stretches or rotates or mixes resolutions. I just think if you're going to do it right, like do it accurate to what it would have been like back in the day. I always like trying new styles. Started out doing very kind of cartoony, super flat 50s kind of style, and then I do pixel art, so that's like the old video game style. And you learn things from each style that you can apply to the next one, whether it's color theory or motion or acting. Lately I've been doing a lot more realistic proportion, comic book style animation, which is a different challenge. But I think there's principles throughout. You know, I really value simplicity. I think if you can reduce a design down to its, bare, raw elements and still communicate an idea, I prefer that than something that's really detailed. It takes a lot of time and work to communicate the same thing. I think there's like a purity to that. I try to look for that in any style that I animated. Yeah, people call it 8-bit, some people call it pixel art, some people call it retro. Like it's a lot. I think a lot of people enjoy it because it's minimalist. It's got nostalgia, but it's just. There's also a relationship with pixel art and anime because a lot of the video games that came out of, Japan in the 80s and 90s, they're clearly influenced by anime. The RPGs that we played, Mario, whatever, Sonic, it's all Japanese inspired art. But there's this kind of pop cultural back and forth between the US and Japan. It's got a kind of cool history. Like, I learned to animate doing pixel art when I was a teenager. I was designing, I wanted to make my own video games as a kid. Like I was in primary school with big drawings of levels for like Commander Keen. And I really wanted to make those games, and to make art for those games, the only way I knew how was pixel art. So I plotted out dot by dot. I wasn't very good at design or animation at that point, but I was learning how to animate. And later, when I kind of worked in 2D animation, I went back to pixel art and was able to apply some of the skills that I'd learnt about motion and posing and how to communicate something complex with a small amount of time. Pixel art has its own challenges and rules, and I like sticking to the grid. I don't like pixel art that like squashes and stretches or rotates or mixes resolutions. I just think if you're going to do it right, like do it accurate to what it would have been like back in the day. I'm not so concerned about color count because that thing can fluctuate, but anyway, a lot of the jobs that I do, whether it's hand-drawn or pixel art, it's about mimicking a period or a style. On the Fallout games, Fallout 4 and 76, I directed all the 2D animation for those games, and that's all about mimicking a 1950s aesthetic. And so I'm looking at like what could they have done in the 50s, what would they have done, and what was impossible, So when you see the brief through like a lens or like that, like it has limitations, it's a lot easier to be creative, I think. Whereas if you do something that's got no limit, like just make something cool, that's when you can kind of get caught up in endless experimentation, and it's a lot harder, to be honest. Well, I've been traveling the last 6 months around the world, so I enjoy traveling and working, and I'm able to set up with a laptop and a Cintiq and do that kind of from anywhere as long as I have internet and power. I like board games. Again, because I think it's about kind of challenging your mind a little bit, and it's a safe space to be really competitive. Yeah, I'm passionate about cooking and food, vegetarianism, music. I think the thing with a lot of animators or artists is their hobby is the thing that they do for a living. So I like telling stories and working on comic books and developing my own personal projects, but that can wear thin. You know, you can get drained from that. So if I'm tired of drawing, I'll write, or I'll work on a video game idea. Like there's so many avenues for creativity. I'd say just make stuff, finish things. With creativity, it's hard because you can go back and like tweak endlessly, but I think you should divide creativity up into two separate stages. I learned this from there's a comedian, John Cleese from Monty Python. He talked about creativity. You know, he makes a distinction between the concept phase and the execution phase, and you need to separate them. The concept phase can be really free form, and you need to allow new ideas and challenge your ideas constantly. But once you've locked in the concept and you've written a thing or made your outline or storyboard, you really have to just execute that. Because when you get to the execution stage, you're going to be zooming in really close on individual shots and motions and characters, and you'll be too close to the thing that you won't be able to see the bigger picture. So you kind of have to trust that you did all the work at the concept phase and just finish it at the execution phase. You can still have new ideas at execution, but you just need to be a bit more disciplined. Yeah. The other thing I'd say is it's not easy standing out. A lot of people, I think, concentrate on trying to come up with a unique style in the beginning. I think that's maybe not the right way to go about it. I think you should absorb everything, every style, and try to challenge yourself with new skills. And then when you get to making stuff, you have all these skills at your disposal, and you get to choose which ones to use and which ones not to. And that's how a style is developed. It's not through trying to draw like nobody else has drawn before. Just try to draw like everybody, and then you'll develop your own, I call it a visual vocabulary. So your way of drawing eyes or noses or backgrounds, you'll develop that out of habit, and then you'll have something unique, you know? Yeah. Approach it from an aerodynamics point of view. I think sitting on a unicorn would be more comfortable than sitting on a dragon. Even with a saddle, I don't know how Daenerys from Game of Thrones can sit on a scaly, big, cold-blooded, fire-breathing thing. I'm gonna have to go purely for comfort. I'll go with a unicorn. Yeah, so I got my new studio, Studio Showoff, and we're based in Melbourne. We're focusing on storytelling with a sense of humour and character. We do small boutique kind of jobs, and we also work on TV series. We're always looking for new talent and collaborators and freelancers to work with us. Mostly in animation, but sometimes design and storyboarding. So we've got a website, you can check it out. If it's something you're interested in doing, give us, contact us, and maybe we can work together. But yeah, thanks for interviewing me, and yeah.